Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the PHNX Rising post-game show. It's been a crazy night so far. We got Owen, we got Edwin over there. Thank you so much for being patient and holding on with us. We had some technical difficulties here. Great win for Rising today, 2-1 over the Miami FC. A wonderful night here at Wild Horse Pass. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge Tyler. Thank you so much for your super chat. He said here's a little some, so we do appreciate that. Really helped us out here. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started, guys. Great win tonight. Owen, I know you were sprinting from from the field up here to the press box. Me and Edwin were stressing over here, but what were your thoughts on the game tonight?
I'm still trying to get my head back there. It was stressful.
It was crazy.
You know what we should do?
Yes.
In true PHNX tradition?
Uh-oh.
Let's blame the intern.
Yeah. No. It wasn't Edwin's fault. It wasn't Edwin's fault.
It's not Edwin's fault. It's not Edwin's fault. We had some Wi-Fi issues here.
A lot went down.
It was connected but not connected, and who knows?
Yeah.
But hey, look, not Rising's best game by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But they still pulled off the win
against
a good Miami FC team, the Miami FC team.
Done with that.
We got to leave that one in there. The Miami FC. And so you come away feeling quite happy, even though there were definitely things to improve.
Yep. Yeah, no, definitely started off a little bit rocky for Rising. Miami kind of held on to the ball a little bit more. I expected that defensive effort coming from Miami. Again, they only gave up one goal coming in, average of 1 goal per game coming in. So it was going to be a tough time, but Rising were able to stay patient even after that first goal that Miami was able to get. Let's talk about that first goal from Kevin Lambert. He stole the ball in the middle of the field, sprinted all the way to the 6-yard box, and was able to get the pass from Repetto after a Calistri shot. So what do you make of that play? I know you were down there. What did you make of it?
You know, I was actually more impressed that after making that kind of a run, he still had enough energy in the tank to do the flip. The trademark Kevin Lambert flip. Yep. I mean, nothing quite compares to it, does it? I asked him how many more he thinks he's got in the tank this season. He just kind of laughed. It's like, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But look, it was a very good effort from him to show that you just don't give up on those.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he gets his reward for it.
Yeah, definitely. First goal of the season, first Lambert leap. Edwin, yes, sir.
Before we move on, Scott Mitchell with the $20. Another little bit of support. Great stuff as always. Thanks for doing these streams. See, when we even delayed and had to figure it all out, we still got the support. So thank you, Scott.
No, you guys don't even know. If you guys in the chat, thank you so much for holding on. If you guys could see how we were right now before we got on air, you would have seen us. We looked like chickens without heads, but we really appreciate it.
We were busy fiddling with stuff, and I may have snapped at our poor friend over there who's got his headphones in, so he can't hear.
Nah, Theo's fine. Shout out to Tyler again. Thank you for the super chat, Scott. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. That super chat you just dropped, Scott. Racer Dog. Again, we can't do this without you guys. We appreciate you. So thank you so much for holding on.
And we have 20 or so people who are with us tonight.
Exactly. 24 right now. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. After that Lambert goal, the halftime came through. Did Rick say something to the guys to kind of get them going? Because they looked a little, out of energy in the first half, in my opinion. Maybe they weren't fighting those 50-50 balls. But once the second half started, it was a completely different story. So you think something happened in that locker room?
See, I would argue it's a slightly different turning point in there. And it's similar to what Rick was telling us about, in that the turning point was Calistri moving into the middle.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of where it changed a little bit. He was providing a different kind of creativity. Now, what they were struggling with in that game really was creativity from the middle of the park. It wasn't really there, and that's why you had a lot of Rising kind of possession. Well, not a huge amount of possession, but a lot of their possession wasn't necessarily the most threatening. There's a lot of the time where it felt like the ball was kind of trapped in the opposition half of the field, especially in that first half. That was really, really critical, because I can tell you, I was standing behind the goal that Rising were attacking, and it always just felt like the ball was a million miles away from us. They weren't really getting up there. They weren't bombarding that Miami defense with any kind of pressure, really. And so what you ended up with there was they come out in the second half. You see a few of those changes, then moving Calistri into the middle, and that's kind of where it changes. Now, what's intriguing, maybe what happened, and I'm sure you're about to bring it up now, maybe what happened wouldn't have happened if Rick hadn't gone with his gut.
What do you mean by that?
He told us this after the game. He was debating, and the coaching staff were debating, who were they going to bring off Was it Arturo or was it Luis?
Oh, okay.
Wow. Interesting.
In the end, he goes with taking Arturo off, and we see what Luis does at the end.
Yeah, and that Seijas' question about taking him off was interesting. He had the yellow card from the 24th minute. Rick decided to stick with him. And Seijas wasn't having his best game. He wasn't able to get a shot on goal. His only shot on target was the goal that he scored, which was wonderful, by the way. And, shout out to Rick and his staff for trusting Seijas to be able to, make an impact on the game.
Well, Luis came up to us after the game. We had him first guy we spoke to. And he flat out just said, no, that was a bad game. I had an awful game. Like,
he had a few balls where he
was-
kind of just gave it up to the opposition, and it's not a usual Luis Seijas
it wasn't
performance.
his kind of game. Now, he changed his boots at halftime.
Oh, okay.
Changed his boots at halftime. So there's maybe a halftime factor.
There you
There
go.
we
Change his
go.
boots at halftime. He hits that absolute rocket to win the game.
Yeah.
And now he says he's sticking with those boots.
Yeah, let's talk about that goal now that we're talking about Luis Manuel Seijas. Edwin, I think you and I kind of missed it. I saw a little bit of it kind of towards the end, but once we saw the replay, that's an insane shot, man. Like I think he's only scored from outside the box this season.
It seems like every time he scores, it's like a Puskas nomination / goal of the year kind of nomination for him. I mean, great moment. And I mean, he's been the man to kind of rise up when they need something. I think a lot of us expected early on in the year for it to be Arturo. And I'm not discrediting what Arturo has done so far and all that.
Yeah.
But we thought maybe Arturo would be doing what more Seijas has been doing as of late. So a heck of a goal. And as you mentioned, I kind of missed it because kind of to peel the curtain a little bit. I'm setting up a lot of this stream during the last little push of the game. So I'm setting up. I hear a roar of explosion behind me. And then I had to watch the highlight. What a hit.
Let's be honest now. I think if that had hit the goalkeeper, Connor Sparrow, in the face, I think it would have knocked him out.
I mean, he did knock out another Miami player earlier.
Power in that
Yeah.
shot. How do you stop that? How do you keep that out?
Yeah.
When he just smashes it like that.
Yeah.
How?
That is insane. No, and earlier in the game, he had hit a Miami player, and he stayed down for like 5 minutes.
I know I was chatting with some people down there pitch side, and they're like, the first touch. You see that first touch from Luis, saying, oh, it's heavy first touch. It's taking it away from him. Is he going to get to it? Oh, he does.
And that ball goes towards the keeper, and the amount of power that it had. Yeah.
But the power just made it impossible to stop.
That was insane. And then seeing it from the press box, I know I kind of jumped out of my chair. I was looking at the Blaze radio guys, and they're like just doing the same expression as I was. So insane goal. And I think we're getting used to these though, because like we kind of expected it anytime Seijas has the ball near the 18-yard box. If he rips that shot, most likely it's gonna go in. So props to him.
Very, very good finish from him. I mean, that's got to be up there for goal of the week, right? That's got to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Chat, it's got to be on the short list.
Chat, y'all know what to do. We got to get those votes into. Get that.
When USL put that up, if he's not on there, I want you all to make USL aware of how bad an error they have made.
Yeah, exactly.
Every single one of you on there, on Twitter, make them aware of how bad they should feel for not picking it. But then when they do pick it, which I very much hope that they do, get on there and vote. On there and vote. Yeah. Don't let Detroit people steal it like they seem to show up and whatever they do to win these.
Twitter fingers. Jet, wonderful is an understatement to that goal. Seijas tried to kill him with the shot too. Says Pat Moses. Corey C is saying it was a bullet. Yeah, not we can't say enough things about that goal. Gave Rising the victory, 6-0 in April for Phoenix Rising. It all started with that San Antonio win. In all competitions now, perfect April. Who would have thought this after those back-to-back losses against Las Vegas and San Diego?
Well, you know what I'll say? USL doesn't do a manager of the month, does it?
I saw Jake tweet about it, but I'm not sure if they do that.
I think I saw, at least as of late, no.
Because I hope not. Because you know what they say, it's the curse, right? You win it, you lose your next game. So
let's not get that one.
You gotta hope not.
That's a good point.
So what are your thoughts on that? 6-0 in April after those two losses. What has changed? I see more fight in Rising for the entire 90 minutes, and that's something we wanted since the first game. So besides that, what has changed in your eyes?
I think there are smaller things. They're winning more battles in general, right? And that can come down to the fight you're saying, but they're winning more of those duels. They're winning a little bit more in the air.
Yeah.
I think defensively at times they are better. They're not there yet, not quite yet, because Ben Lunt has been called on multiple times.
Yeah, he had a couple
to-
saves tonight.
to make some really, really big stops and keep this team in games. But it's improved over where it was.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing.
Yeah.
Now, there are still moments. We saw it tonight with the goal conceded. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah, just chatting through with Rick about what he sees happening there. You had kind of an overload on the right-hand side. Darnell wasn't really able to cover it properly, and Joey was a little bit too far up the field to come back and support. And then Kev just kind of, the guy gets off his shoulder. And that's still kind of a work in progress to a degree for Kev, is getting into that centre-back position, making it work.
Yeah.
And so when the cross comes in, his pinpoint onto the guy's head.
A great cross.
On the edge of the 6-yard box, he's going to make you pay for that. So there are small things, little things that still just they get caught on, but not quite as much as they were, I think, before this current streak.
Yeah, and I agree. You see those little lapses once in a while during the game, but I think Lambert has done a perfectly fine job. I think that goal in itself was a little bit of a miscommunication, but it does start at the top. Calistri was not in this position. He was trying to race back, but by the time he did, the Miami player was able to get off that cross. So lapses in that, but Lambert was able to make it up, obviously, by his goal tonight. So we won't judge him too hard for that. Yeah, man, it's insane, man. It's a great feeling to win these games 6-0. So far, anything else that Rick said tonight?
Various bits. For example, they're going to give the boys an extra day off now.
Oh, really?
End of a long week.
Deserved.
They're going to get an extra day of recovery.
Yeah, man. New Mexico twice. And by the way, New Mexico lost today against San Antonio. So,
what a shame.
Oof. 1-0 against San Antonio.
New Mexico United. I can't believe they lost that game.
Oh, my God.
Something the wheels are falling off. The weird day around USL. I'm sure we'll come on to that later, but some weird results.
Yeah. I was just talking to Edwin about that. Before we continue with our show, though, Owen, I do want to talk about OG's brands. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to stop by your local dispensary and grab some amazing scratch-made THC gummies from our friends at OG's. They just announced their new mini OGs, which is 3 milligram microdose options for those not wanting to dive in right into the regular 10 milligram option. These 3 milligram microdose options will be available on May 3rd. They have amazing flavors such as orange creamsicle, tropical, and watermelon. So if you're interested in trying the amazingly delicious variety of flavors that OG's Brands has to offer, go to ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com to find OG's near you. Oh man, it's a little chilly tonight. I underestimated.
It's not cold. What are you on about, man?
All right, boys. Before we move on too much,
yes, sir.
We got to talk about DraftKings King of the Game, and one that it might be a little controversy in the chat. We're going with Lambert. I know.
I didn't pick this.
You can blame. You know this one. You can blame on the intern. Blame it on Edwin. We went with.
What's up with that crown placement?
All right, let's.
It's a mini crown.
It's a crown. All right. Let me explain why we went Lambert. Then you can question my crown placement. Lambert on his goal that we have yet to talk about too much. He got the interception himself. And he had a great movement forward and then was in the right spot for Repetto to set up the assist and create a goal. In a first half, that was not that great for the Rising. That was their first shot on target. So that changes the game going to locker room 1-1 versus 1-0. Defensively, Lambert has been the man who kind of been put back there and has changed their defense quite a bit. Yes, it's still not a perfect product, but it's getting there. So I feel like this is not only just for tonight's performance, but his improvement on defense. So I think a lot of what Rising's progressing, at least on defense, you got to give at least a shout out to Lambert and what he's done back there.
Well, he had a better game than your crown placement there, right?
Oh. Yeah. No, I think Kev had a good game, except for that, that miscommunication and that cross for Miami's goal. But other than that, I think he does great. And I think since he's been moved to that back line, Rising have been playing a lot better. So, shout out to him. I do want to kind of look at some stats here really quickly. So in the first half, total shots for Rising, only 4 total shots and then 2 on target. Now, if we move on to the second half, 16 total shots, 5 on target. Big difference from the first half to the second half.
Well, it kind of summed up the change, didn't it? Right, as you said, it was a lot of possession, a lot of the time when the ball was there, it was in their own half for Rising. trying to move out of there. It was a struggle. When they did get the ball up into the opposition half, it felt like the balls in weren't great. For whatever reason, they couldn't quite connect with the guy in the middle. When they finally did, it was offside, and I think we all agreed from having seen replay there, it looks like he was indeed offside. Not the best angle, unfortunately. That is the limitation, as ever, of the broadcast cameras. But from what we can tell, it's a believable offside at least.
Yeah.
But overall, just wasn't a great first half, was it?
No, it was a tale of two halves. I mean, the first half they were outpossessed, they were outshot. Miami deserved the lead a half. If we were to give it to someone, it would be Miami in that first half, right? And then, you know, maybe the draw is fair enough, but like the first shot on target was that Lambert goal. So for them to go in tied with that first half, I mean, I think that's just a huge win for them. And then obviously that second half, that shoe change, that everything was just different. I mean, that team came out blazing, and again, we're just waiting for that full 90 minutes. I mean, we've seen it, but like,
I'm not gonna say too much about them, about their performance in the first half, because they already had that midweek game. They're coming off, that game as well. So I'm not gonna press on them too much. They took care of business in the second half, which is they only needed 45 good minutes to beat them. So can't really fault them too much for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because just chatting with people about the Open Cup in midweek, and a lot of the feeling was that Miami FC had a good first half and a bad second half in that game. And it's almost like that kind of repeated itself here today. Look, they've got to pick it up really though in these first half performances, because as Devin in here is saying, they're always not quite up to scratch in that first half, right?
Yeah, he said something else. You can read it.
Else, but it's not up to scratch in the first half, and that's true. It's true. Yeah. I think a lot of the time we go in at the break and we look at each other and it's just like, really?
Yeah.
Really? And you're fighting an uphill battle at that point, okay? Today they were all right. They got that goal before the break. If they hadn't gotten that goal before the break, would it have been the same game?
Yeah.
Really? Because you can't keep fighting back from these kind of positions whereby you've struggled and then you're going to fight back. It's all well and good saying the boys have heart and character and all of that. And yes, those are all good qualities in any given game. But you don't want to be rescuing yourselves every match.
Yeah.
That's not really the formula for a winning season.
And you don't want your defensive players to be the best options, the best attack. I mean, year long, we've seen Manuel Madrid sometimes being the best option in halves. And today, that first half, I think Lambert, he got the goal. What a movement. He had to be the one.
I think it was just that instinct of being a midfielder. He's like, I got to keep going because that's typically not what he's supposed to be doing, at least when he's playing center back. So.
Yeah. It's just rising with the attack and the options that they have and all that you don't want your defense to be the ones who have to carry the load and be creating chances to have to do that. The attack needs to, in the creativity also from the midfield, that's also the midfield needs to link up with the attack.
Yeah, Aiden Quinn, I think, had a great game in the midfield. Crosses, cutting off lanes, able to keep the ball moving from side to side. I think he had a wonderful game. I think he's kind of underrated in some ways because we take his performances for granted most of the time, but I think he did a really great job tonight. Great comment here by Scott. He says it seemed like Miami FC was content with the draw and played like it around 70 minutes and forward. So I saw that too. They were just content with kicking the ball forward and see what happens. I think the change with Epps and Santi Moore coming in around that 65th, 78th minute, I think that kind of gives that little jolt as well. I know you mentioned Calistri, but having Santi on that left side, I think it worked out really well. I really like Santi tonight.
I just want to go back a second there.
Yes.
And you're talking about they were just content to kick it forward and see what happens. This is an Anthony Pulis team. This is Tony Pulis' son manages this team. And you think they like to play direct? Like, well,
nope.
They kind of do. Come on, we all know Tony Pulis. What is he? Dinosaur football in the Premier League type. Hoof it forward and see what happens.
4-4-2, 6-4-3 forward.
To the Santi-Moore point, just to add on to this, we know that he's not necessarily in the best shape still with that ankle.
Yeah.
Rick said as such after the game. They were actually in a position where they knew they had enough people on the bench that if they had to sub and bring him off, they would have done so.
Oh, okay.
He's still hobbling a little bit on it. It's not totally okay.
Yeah.
But
he wants to
feel
play.
like he's been rushed back a little bit, I think, is the impression that Rick gave. But at the end of the day, no, he had a decent game today. I think
Yeah.
it wasn't a bad game at all off the bench.
Epps, I think, and Edwin and I were discussing this a little bit more. I think we're still looking for that huge Epps game and that really good performance. I did see some flashes tonight of that. I think he's coming into his own, but how much time does he need? You know, is it more maybe bring him off the bench time now, or like what are we thinking here? I think he had a perfectly fine second half, but not sure how much time or how much we can expect from him.
Go. I know Ed wants to talk about
Don't
it.
clip this one. Don't clip this one this time.
There are still moments where it feels like he's not quite kicked into top gear.
Yeah.
There are times when he's not necessarily. You expect him to just run, take people on, run, go, and he doesn't. Mm-hmm. He's either a little bit slow on the off, or he gets past one person and then just kind of stops and turns back. And it's not working quite. It slows things down when he's in a position on the field that you don't want him to slow the game down, right? That's where your midfielders often come in, right? Yeah. If your midfielder or your number 9, they slow it down when they know they need to. He's slowing it down when he doesn't need to slow that game down. Yeah. And the problem is that that's kind of messing with their rhythm going forward a little bit. That's where the problem is. And I understand the concern over realistically how much longer can you wait in a team like this for him to hit form. I expect he will hit form at some point. Again, it's just for whatever reason it feels like he's not quite hitting top gear, even if we know that he's capable of.
Yeah. That's why we're asking these questions. Yeah.
He's done it elsewhere. That's almost why I guess is frustrating. There are people. I know we had the conversation about Channing, but our expectations for him are high.
Yeah.
Okay. But our expectations for Epps were high.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what the problem is here.
Yeah, and I think you labeled the Epps part very well. For me, right, and this may be something, I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. For me, I want to see a Arturo Rodriguez game. I think we saw that early on, and our expectations are high of Arturo, right? We labeled him how he possibly could be an MVP of just the league as a whole. You know, how he's very talented and all that. And it seems like his games have not been bad, but they haven't been great. And I think it's partly why tonight we saw Chance took out Arturo. Because his games, he hasn't changed the game as much as we know he can. Because we know he has brilliance. He has moments where he can change the game by himself. He can do a skill and all that. And we haven't seen that from Arturo, at least as of late. I think for me, because I don't want to just, put on S because I think you talked about it well, but for me, I want to see an Arturo game where we know he can play the way he is, because we have high expectations of him.
But I think the thing with Arturo that we have to remember is it's probably partly a confidence thing now. Unfortunately, these things become self-fulfilling, right? He has a bad game, and then he just kind of gets him a little bit. And we see, we all know that he's the first guy. He's a very passionate guy. He's the first guy in the referee's face. Let's be honest, okay? We all know that. The problem is that kind of, passion, if unchecked, and especially because he's young. He's a young player. He's still working on it. It's Luis has a bad game. He scores a rocket to win it. But, he comes off and Chaz is just like, it's a bad game.
He's been around the block enough times to know.
He's been around the block. He's played for 60,000 people in South America. He knows what he's...
Yeah.
We're kind of still working on that with Arturo. I feel like he's still maturing as a footballer in some ways and not it sounds like it's almost infantilizing him a little bit. He's not maturing as a person. I'm sure he's, but just as a footballer, yes, he is. And it's tough when this is, I'm sure, also partly on people like us, unfortunately, where we put all these expectations on a guy like that, and it's hard.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's hard because he's got the talent, he's got all the potential that he needs to go out and be that kind of a guy, but at the moment, because things aren't just clicking, it's hard. I wonder if he's getting his head a little bit there. It's almost where you need somehow. I know Luis has worked with him in the past. You need someone to kind of pull him to the side, I think, and just get him feeling better about himself. Get him happier out there, doing his thing. And once he loosens up that little bit, I think we can still see those fireworks from Arturo this season. But it's just time, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, no, and I think you can apply that to some of the other rising players, like you were mentioning earlier, Epps. Repetto tonight. It's maybe what his sixth straight game without a goal or something like that, and he's doing the work. I can see him getting frustrated. His body language, you can see it that he really wants to score, and he's putting himself in this position to connect with the midfield or put himself in the position for crosses, but it's just not happening. And sometimes as a striker, that could be the morale. It could hurt you in the sense.
Crossing.
Yeah.
It's the crossing. He's not getting the service, and it's frustrating because we can sit here and talk about, well, is that how Rising plays? And the answer is, if it isn't, why do you bring him in?
Yeah.
Like, we know who he is. We know what kind of a player he is. We know what he's going to thrive off of. Yeah. And yet, for whatever reason, we're not seeing high balls into him. Yeah. We're not seeing those. And if that's not the Phoenix Rising way, that's fine. But he's your starting number 9 at the moment. Okay? You don't get to just slap someone in and say it'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's got to either fit the system or you've got to change the system to fit him.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I think we're seeing with Claudio Repetto right now, is that he's not getting those balls in the ear to him that you'd actually expect him to do something with. And unfortunately, I think also Claudio needs to time his runs a little bit better.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah.
But if that continues to be the case, then why not replace him? You know, and I get it. It should be on the team to focus on the crossing, but it's time to bring someone off the bench like Richmond onto me. It's time to have Greg start. Like,
but if you speak to Rick, they're the same kind of player.
But they're not. So, like for me, right? Greg is the more well-rounded number 9, at least.
Oh, Greg is different. So yeah, you're talking about Richmond.
Yeah, but Richmond's not the aerial kind of threat guy. He's the energy, pacey. Yeah. He's gonna give you like more action throughout the way and more.
I didn't see him getting any service during the cup game that he played.
Well, yeah,
really.
but I think that's what they were trying to play.
System issue.
They were trying to play like with Repetto.
Yeah, it's the system. The system doesn't seem to work at this moment with a player like that. And it's not necessarily a bad thing about the system. It's not necessarily a bad thing about the player. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, those two things aren't working together.
But when it does, that's going to be trouble for the opposition because.
Oh, will it?
Yeah, I think so.
I
think so.
No, because that then gets to the point of are you changing how he plays?
That's true. Well, the point I want to make is that Epps is not playing at his best. I don't think Repetto is playing at his best right now. You have Arturo that's kind of in between. So you have a Rising team that went 6-0 in April. Only gave up 3 goals, I think, and they're still winning games.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's how much depth there is in this team.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you got to applaud it. Is this Rising team is not at its peak. Mm-hmm. They're still progressing, and I think it's good though. Because I think they're learning. They still got a lot to improve. They still got things from attack, things from defense that they got to work on. Yeah. I don't think you want to reach your peak early. You want to reach your peak later because we saw what type of runs you go on later and reaching your peak at the end means. I mean, Orange County clearly wasn't the best team last year all year long. They just reached their peak at the right time and won it. And I think Rising fans would rather take winning the cup, reaching their peak later than struggling a little early and getting points here and there.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's one comment in here I'm really interested with, and I want to see what you guys think on this.
Yep.
So it was, if Epps was in form, Repetto wouldn't start since Greg could move up top. Now, we'll add the extra caveat in there. Of course, Santi's also not fully fit right now. But do you think that's true? Do you think that if Epps was in form, Santi was fit, we're in that kind of a position, the Repetto wouldn't be starting, we'd have Greg Hurst there instead?
Yeah. I love that lineup. The fluidity between those three. If Epps moves to the middle, you could have Santi either move to the other side, or there's so many mismatches you can create just by the fact that they're all able to fill that position perfectly. You saw it today with Hurst playing on the left wing, a beautiful cross to Calistri that was stopped by the Miami goalkeeper. There's so much versatility in his game that he could fit anywhere, and I think that's something that Rick, really likes about Hurst. So if Repetto's not working, and you have Hurst playing well, Epps playing well, and Santi playing well, I think Repetto goes to the bench.
No, I agree. For me, if Marcus was performing the way we expected and want him to, I think the perfect lineup is what Rick has been wanting all season long. That is Marcus, Greg Hurst, and Santi, because they would work well and it'd be in sync, and they could play from the wings, but also build through the middle, which I think they also need to do more.
Yeah.
And in my personal opinion, I'm also going to throw that back to you, Owen. But there's also another question that it's interesting from Corey. He says, can we all agree that we need Musa back?
I forgot about Musa tonight. I'm not going to lie. I forgot about Musa tonight.
I forgot about him. See, I couldn't forget about him because he just kind of stands there by the tunnel. He just kind of stands there by the tunnel watching, wistfully wishing he was back out there kind of thing, I think. I think the thing about Musa is you want to add that left-footed centre back to the back. It kind of makes it all fit together a little bit better in that sense. But then what do you do? Because you've got to drop. Again, there's more questions in the chat about this, which would be, what would it look like then?
Yeah.
Because I think Musa slots in, yes, when we know he's fit, but who are you dropping, Joey? Or are you dropping Luis to make Kev shift up a bit? Or what? What are you doing there? Because that's complex.
It's complex. Because I think Farrell also had a great second half.
Yeah.
There was a lot of moments where he came up big, save off the line, a lot of tackles. So you don't really want to take Farrell off. But do you take Lambert off of a defensive line and a defense that improved when he got there? And do you take off Seijas doing what he does? So does that mean Arturo?
It's either Seijas or Arturo that are going to come off. I'm not going to take Quinn off.
But that's tough. You can't take a player like Arturo given what he can do, but that's the question of if we're talking in form right now.
Yeah. If you're going to put Musa back in that center back pair, it's that tough decision that Rick's going to have to do. I think Seijas is going to be
on the face of it, that feels like a really defensive move.
It does.
Because you're effectively just swapping Musa in for Arturo. Not obviously in those positions, but that feels like it's a really much more defensive-minded move. Because guys like Luis, yes, they contribute defensively, as does Aiden, but they're not quite just defensive-focused in a way that a guy like Musa kind of is, really.
Yeah. Jet says, drop Arturo for Musa. I think if you drop Arturo, it would affect them a little bit more than it would for Seijas. That's from what I've seen.
Seijas is scoring all these goals.
That's what I mean.
But no one else is taking them on.
No, I agree. But
why is no one else taking them on?
Do you put in Seijas 60-minute plus then? Be the super sub. Because you need that super sub who can score off the bench and change a difference. I think that would be Seijas' role perfectly right now. Then. Just a thought.
And then, Tyler, do we move pieces when it's working? Again, 6-0 in April. Things are going well.
Well, I think it's working, but there's progress to be made.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You cannot see the team that happened today and be like, you're 100% fine with it. So I think if, Rick, were to move pieces, you can't be mad at him because you're like, there's still things to be fixed.
Yeah.
That defensive line and that attack in that first half, a little questionable.
A little iffy, yeah.
You got outplayed by Miami in the first 45. Don't forget it.
Yeah.
So I think it is working, and you don't want to change too much, but there's still things to be worked on.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, guys. Talk about DraftKings. The NBA playoffs are in full effect right now. We got Boston beating the Nets tonight, go up 3-0. So want to definitely get some action in on that. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets instantly. You win no matter what. Plus, each day of the first round, get a risk-free bet up to $10 if your same-game parlay doesn't hit. You guys can bet the Suns. They'll be playing again tomorrow after that great performance last night. So you guys make sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You can use promo code PHNX, bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game during the first round of the playoffs and get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code PHNX at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. You do have to be 21 and over to gamble. Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details.
Woo. We still feeling Suns in 5?
I am. I think last night it put a lot of relief. CP3 stepped up big. Pelicans, I mean, if they were to win the series, I think they need to win last night. And I think it would have made it more interesting. But I think you feel more relief. The big boys balled last night and bailed the Suns. So I think that the small boys will do better in the next game. Take the win, and then you go home.
Yeah.
Easy.
Suns shot terribly. Crowder's not playing at his best. Kem's not playing at his best. If any of those guys get going, it's over.
Yeah.
And remember, there is a watch party at the Ainsworth tomorrow.
Are you going to be there again?
The PHNX Suns crew. We'll see.
We'll see.
So make sure to head out there. RSVP online because it gets busy. So you got to be able to show you that.
Yeah, great crowd yesterday.
So how was it yesterday? I went to give the people a little.
It was a good crowd. Good number of people there. And of course, Big Sauce was there.
Big Sauce.
Big Sauce.
Who I went to high school with, by the way. Just saying.
His favorite flex. His favorite flex.
North High School. All right, guys, to wrap it up here, let's take a look at some scores around the USL.
Oh,
some great stuff tonight.
Do you want me to read out some read out some here.
So we have. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, we got New Mexico United 0, San Antonio 1.
Woo!
And I think we'll start and end it there. Thanks, boys.
I wouldn't know.
Look, it's interesting. I just look at that. They didn't have the possession.
Mm.
There's a penalty actually for San Antonio. I was actually really tempted to say San Antonio get a result in New Mexico. There were good odds on that game, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't bring myself to do it, but I probably should have now because they.
Yeah, San Antonio's been playing great after losing to Rising, so good stuff.
Detroit with a late winner against Hartford. A couple of draws to start the day that were unexpected draws as well. Tampa Bay drawing away to the Baby Bulls.
A lot of draws,
And
man.
Louisville drawing 1-1 away to Charleston. Surprising those. Pittsburgh demolished Atlanta 2. We expected that. That game ended 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
RGV winning against Sac Republic 2-1. Oh, that's painful. I might have had a.
Yeah, El Paso and Oakland sharing some points here. Las Vegas
1-0.
and Galaxy 2 as well, who is Rising will be playing next week.
FC Tulsa 0, Colorado Springs Switchbacks 2. Some goals there from Haji Barry and Foster.
I think all of these results kind of benefit Rising on this side. Rising now up to 15 points.
Peek at those standings.
Yeah, one less game played than San Diego's, which has 16, and then Colorado with 18. So if Rising wins next week at Galaxy, we're looking at 18 points, man.
Isn't it
top of
quite
the table.
intriguing that when San Diego posted that table last week and were like, oh, we still woke up top of the table. Now that they didn't play, and the teams that have played multiple games less than them have been able to play,
they don't do it
suddenly
anymore.
they've been leapfrogged by 2 teams. That's funny, that, isn't it? It's almost like teams that have only 1 point behind you, but that have 2 games in hand on you, can overtake you with relative ease. So, yeah, Colorado Springs on top of the moment, San Antonio right behind them. Then it's San Diego and Rising.
Yeah, looking good in the standings. Great results. 2 more games tomorrow. That's going to be Loudoun at Birmingham at Loudoun tomorrow, and then we have Orange County at Indy 11. Which one? That one should be good. Looks like it's the game of the week, right?
Birmingham against. Sorry, is Indy 11 Orange County?
Yeah,
that's an interesting game.
And ESPN Deportes.
Solo.
Yeah.
You see Solo?
Not yet, right?
I don't know. Is he ever yet?
I don't think
I'm
he's
not
there
sure.
yet.
I don't
Maybe
think
a couple more weeks.
Slow time.
We'll see.
There's
Any last
midweek
thoughts,
games
boys,
as well.
before we wrap it up?
For me, thanks for sticking around. Sorry for the technical difficulties. You can blame the intern, which is myself.
We always do, Edwin.
This
We
is
always
why
do.
Owen's giving me the cut.
I do want to shout out
It's okay.
Tyler
We'll be
and
back to
Scott.
Back to hashtag Deadwin very soon.
Deadwin. We need a shirt for that. I want to shout out Tyler and Scott once again. Thank you so much for those super chats. And the rest of the chat, thank you so much for sticking with us. I know it was a little bit later than usual, but we appreciate it as always. Like Edwin said, we had some stuff going on behind the scenes, but we were able to pull through. That's what we got here at PHNX.
We
Rising.
pulled every option. They don't notice, but we were the computer you're seeing right over there. We were about to snag you for this.
We're downloading software. I'm like, what utility are you talking about? Yeah.
So we tried every option. So we'll have a stream.
It's okay.
Regardless of
He
the
thinks that
options.
we're downloading spyware. In fact.
Yeah, they're checking up on me.
Yeah.
They're checking for Greg Hurst comments at my home. Yeah.
We're just making sure,
Getting-
no more Greg Hurst slander.
Getting
this one.
cyberbullied. Yeah,
Okay,
it's terrible.
Any more Greg Hurst slander from him, we'll just tip that chair backwards.
All right, y'all. And if you guys are watching us, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It does help support the channel. If you do that, it helps us grow. It helps us find more Rising fans just like yourself, and we can all have a better and awesome time here at PHNX Rising. If you haven't yet, make sure to follow us on Twitter as well. We're growing there daily. We got a follower basically every day.
Yes, sir.
It's growing and growing. And again, our Twitter handle is PHNX__Rising.
Double the underscores, double the fun.
There you go. Well, that wraps it up for us tonight here at Wild Horse Pass again. Rising 2-1 over Miami FC. I'm not saying
Miami
I'm not
FC.
saying the
The Miami FC.
We'll be back on Tuesday with a great show. It's been a long week. It's time for some rest. Maybe time for some chelas. So we'll see. We'll see what we're doing up tonight. But thank you so much for sticking in with us. Have a great night. Be safe. Be well. Until next time. See you later.